All right. Hello, everyone. I am ESL teacher Lisa. Glad you could make it. So the purpose of today's lesson is just to review lesson 1 in our idiom series. So I'll cover any questions you have and some things that I would like to point out in that lesson. So if you're able to join us live, or if you're going to be watching the recording of this, please put in the chat where you are connecting from and your native language. It's always interesting to see where my viewers are from and, of course, what language you speak. And sometimes when I do construct some lessons, I will think about my viewers and the languages that they speak, because certain things apply more to certain language groups than others when you're talking about such things as pronunciation, and sometimes grammar, of course, plays into that. It can be a little bit different depending on what language you are coming from. So we won't get into that, but let's go ahead and look at our first lesson and some things that I'd like to review. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm also going to make it a little bit bigger when we go through the review, but for now, I'm just going to share my screen. 1 minute. All right, it's raining here. I'm in the Philippines, so it stopped. So hopefully it'll stay quiet for a while. Okay, so welcome everyone. I just want to mention I do have 2 other YouTube channels, ESL Job Talk. I post all my interview related videos and questions there. So if you're looking for a job or you're looking to practice interviews in English, you can check out that other channel. And I also have Lisa's Story Corner, where I read kids' stories. So if you have kids that want to learn English, or even you as an adult, if you want to practice your pronunciation, or what we call shadowing, where I read and you repeat, then you can join me on that channel there. Okay, so let's go to our series, Going to New York. So if you haven't heard of the series, or if you're new or you're tuning in for the first time, I created a series around these 2 characters, Takashi, who's from Japan, and Matthias from Brazil. So it's a fun way to learn idioms. Idioms are super important. I'm going to review what they are in a moment. But to get the best out of this series, and this series is completely free on YouTube. If you'd like to pay for the workbook and the audio files, it's a small fee, but the whole course is free so you can follow along. There are 20 conversations that I created. So to get the most out of these videos, and lesson 1 is up, by the way, and we're going to review some of those idioms from that lesson and answer any questions. Number 1, you have to listen to the audio first. Do not look at the words. So even if you have the workbook, don't look at the words. Second, you're going to read out loud exactly what you heard. So you listen to the audio, and then you're going to read exactly what you heard, the transcript. Third, you have to do what's called activation. So how do you remember idioms? Idioms can be difficult to remember, but that's why you do something like phrase matching. So you match the idiom with the definition. That's called activation. That's a real thing. That's the term to help you remember words and phrases. The fourth thing that you should do, and you should not skip this, you should go back to the audio, or go back to the video and listen again for more accuracy. Now can you understand 100%? So those are the 4 steps that you should do through all 20 conversations. Okay, let's go over to the next, which is our review. So I'm going to switch the screen. We're going to review lesson 1. And remember, idioms are used every 2 minutes on average by a native speaker. And they know all of the idioms in this course, so you should too. You should know them. This is what helps you to communicate better in English and understand native speakers. So just to review, if you're still not clear on what an idiom is, idioms are a crucial part of English because they are not meant to be understood literally. Instead, they are a figurative meaning that can be difficult to guess just by looking at the individual words. You know, for example, piece of cake is an idiom that means something is very easy to do. I just want to say hello to Happy Joy. She's connecting from the Philippines, and her native language is Ilocano. Thank you for tuning in, Happy Joy. So, piece of cake, most of you probably heard of that. And the example sentence, I finished my math homework in just 10 minutes. It was a piece of cake. Has nothing to do with cake, has nothing to do with dessert. So it's hard to guess if you've never heard of this expression before. And I've had students that have not heard of this. Any native will know this. And if you don't believe me, you can just find a native and ask them what's a piece of cake. They'll know. So you should know too. Okay, but let's look at some of the specific phrases in lesson number 1. Okay, so let's bring you back over there. Before we do the review, I just want to also share with you where you can find the workbook and also the audio. So the link is in the description if you're watching it live or the replay. The link is there. Let me just share with you where you can find the audio and the workbook. So you'll get linked to this page and you can simply just download. You'll say, I want this. You can pay it in 2 installments. And it's just for a small fee. It's $9.99. You can split the payment. And you get the digital workbook and then all the audio. So you just click, I want this. You can pay in 2 installments. And you get all 84 pages, 20 conversations, plus all the MP3 files or all the audio files. So that's how you get it. This is lesson 1, and this is what we're going to review today. Okay, so let's go over to the other screen. And we're going to now do lesson number 1. We're not going to do the whole lesson. I'm just going to take any questions you have. And I'm also going to just review some key points. So we're not going to go over the whole thing. You can go back and view lesson 1. And I want to thank JD for helping us, and also Natty for helping us. You may see them on the channel. They're my mock students. So they help you to see how you should go about the lesson. So they actually did listen to the audio without seeing the dialogue. Then I asked them how much they understood. They went through the matching, cleared up any questions, and then they listened again. So when I have my mock students on the channel, they're really just showing you how you should be learning. And you don't have to be a native English speaker to read dialogues together with someone, because both of them, Natty and JD, English is not their first language. So that's okay. That's the whole point. My channel is for non-native English speakers. So they do a good job of really helping you to see the process and what you can do to get the most out of everything. So let's go over to my whiteboard. And we're just going to review lesson number 1. So here's the cover. I just showed you how you can download it. The link is there. For sure, read the letter that I wrote to you. So here there's a letter, and it also shows you how to best use the course. But we want to go to the matching. This is the setting of the first lesson. So if you haven't watched it yet, just to review, we have 2 friends, Takashi and Matthias, and they are from Japan. Takashi, Matthias from Brazil. They're going to New York to study English together, or the Big Apple. And that's a nickname for New York, the Big Apple. And they're going to brush up on their English or practice their English. So there's a few things that I want to point out. I'll make this bigger so everyone can see. I'm actually going to switch the way we view this, so that we can see it a little bit better. So normally you would listen to the audio already, then you would come here to the transcript to see what you missed. What is it that you didn't understand? So I just want to review a few things here. So remember, idioms are not literal. So here, he calls him his long lost friend. He calls Takashi his long lost friend. Is he lost? Is Takashi lost? No. Is he anything to do with long? He hasn't seen him for a long time. He's not lost. Again, it's just an expression. So that's why he refers to him as long lost friend. Then he goes down and says, okay, I was able to track him down, track me down, to find him. You see already, we've just been 2 lines into the conversation, we already have idioms. And this is not a long conversation. Then he reminds him that they swapped numbers at language school or exchanged numbers at language school. Then he says, had a blast. This is the one, if you watch the video, JD had a question about this. She said she hadn't really heard of this. Blast literally means like an explosion, right? You might have a blast like a bomb, but it doesn't mean that. It's an idiom. It means to have a good time. I had a blast. You do have to remember with idioms, you cannot change the order of the words. They have to stay exactly the same. You cannot substitute words. So you cannot say, oh, I had a bang, for example, or I had an explosion. You can't do that. You have to lock this in. The only thing that you can change in an idiom, and I'm going to repeat that, the only thing that you can change in an idiom, if there is one, is the verb. So in this case, the verb is had, right, which is the past tense of have. So they are talking about the past. We had a blast. So that's okay. Even though the idiom is have a blast, we can change the tense if we need to. But you cannot change anything else, okay, in an idiom. It has to be exactly the same. Okay. Let's look at a few more. Some of you, or most of you, probably heard of Bucket List. There was even a movie called Bucket List. You might remember that. I forget the name of the actors. Morgan Freeman was one. I forgot the other one. But anyway, most of you might remember Bucket List. So it just means something you'd like to do before you die. Going to Big Apple's on Takashi's bucket list. And just a few more. Pricey. He said New York is pricey, so he was kind of doubting if he should go, which means very expensive. And he was worried that he would be broke in no time. Remember, this is the whole idiom. You can't say broke no time or broken in clock or something else. It has to be exact when you use the idiom. So he's worried he'll be broke or have no money. No money. But he got reassured that the rent is dirt cheap, really cheap. So dirt we use like very. It has nothing to do with dirt or soil. So dirt cheap is to emphasize that something is really cheap. So idioms can be challenging because you can't just look at dirt cheap and think you might know. Sometimes we can guess, but often idioms we can't. And the final one here, let me sleep on it. Let me sleep on it. Are you literally going to sleep? No, you're not literally going to sleep. So just remember, idioms are not literal, but it does mean that you're going to take some time to think about a decision. So if somebody says, let me sleep on it, you're not going to call them back in an hour and say, did you decide? The idea is that they're going to take some time. Could be 2 days, 3 days, a week to think about their decision. Okay, so if you have any questions on lesson 1, you can put them in the chat. If you're going to watch the replay, you can also just put your questions here and I'll get back to you. I'll answer them. Okay, so I'm going to go over to the next page. So I'm just going to erase this. Let's go over to the next page. And again, if you want all 20, we're going to go through all 20, all the matching. I put the link there. And also if you want the audio, if you want to listen, and it is okay if you only understood 30% or 40%. Some of you at different levels, so it's okay. In the first lesson, Natty and JD understood about 90% the first time, 90 to 95%. But you have to remember they're a little bit more advanced speakers because especially Natty, she's had a lot of experience because she lived in the US. So when you listen to the audio, if you only understood 50%, that's okay, or 60%. This is the point of the course. It's to teach you idioms. So here is the idiom list, all of the idioms in the first conversation that we listened to, and then you would go ahead and just match them. Okay, we're not going to do that as I just went through all of them, but that's what you want to do. And then you're going to do a self-check. The answer key is also there. So you should do it first and then check your answers and see which ones you missed and why. Okay, so it's a self-paced course. Lesson 2. Okay, we're not going to go through lesson 2 because that video will be up probably tomorrow, but we're going to read what will we learn in lesson 2. So in the first lesson, Takashi and Matthias are deciding to go to New York. So in episode 2, they do go to New York, but Takashi has to talk to his father, and that's who we see here. So Takashi has a heart-to-heart with his dad. What will Takashi's father think about Takashi's idea of moving to New York? Please listen to the audio. So go ahead and listen to episode number 2. I'll also have it played in the video that will drop likely tomorrow. You're going to do the matching, see how much you understood. You can ask any questions in the video's comments. And next week, likely the same time, we're going to have another live. And so if you have any questions. And by then, this video, the replay will be out. So I'll be checking for any additional questions or comments. And then I can address those also next week. So we are up to, lesson 2 of 20 episodes. We're going to follow Takashi and Matthias through their adventures of New York. They're going to talk to various ones, and we're going to follow their conversations. This is one of the best ways to learn idioms. It's through conversations because you need context for idioms to learn idioms. You need context. Earlier, I mentioned the example I gave you, piece of cake. If you have no context, if I just said piece of cake, what does that mean? Literally a piece of cake. I might be asking for a piece of cake. But when it's put in a sentence and you have context, you start to recognize, if I said, this math test is a piece of cake, you start to understand Lisa's not talking about dessert. So this series also helps you to recognize when someone might be using an idiom. So it's not just about learning idioms. There are hundreds of idioms. You'll learn probably about 200 by the end of this course because there's 20 lessons and you learn about 10 to 12 per lesson. But you have to train yourself to recognize when a group of words are an idiom, when they are idioms. And it does get easier because I've had students do terrible on lesson 1, horrible on lesson 2. And then by a few lessons in, they start to get the hang of it. They start to realize, oh, wow, this is an idiom. What could it mean? Now I have context. And it does get easier. So the goal of the lesson really is to help you to understand natives better. So to wrap up or to end, I'm just going to bring you back to this other screen. And I'm going to point a couple things out to you. So let's go ahead and share. And if you haven't put in the chat where you're viewing from, I know there's some of you in the room here live. What's your native language and who are you? Where are you connecting from? So let's go over to this other screen. And I just want to mention a couple things here. Okay. So the first thing is I do have a few videos about overcoming fear of speaking in English. So if you haven't seen it, this is a good one where I interviewed JD and how she learned and some things that helped her. And I know many of you still have a fear of speaking in English. Even some of my current students, I still have students that I do teach, and this is a huge problem for them. So please watch some of the videos I have on my channel. This is one of them, to be a little bit more brave in speaking English. So thank you, JD, for doing that interview. I also did one with Natty. I think it's the walk-in clinic where we talked about healthcare and also some of her experiences. Also, I have videos on American culture, like can you afford to live in the US? What is it really like to live there? So you can check those out. And then we have our Everyday Native Like Conversation series. We have Nurse Natty on this one, A Trip to the Doctor. And so you can follow that. And there's a workbook that goes with that. And then I have my 5-minute idiom boost series. And this is all free on YouTube. You can watch those to help you learn idioms. So the Takashi and Matthias is a course that we're going through, as I showed you, but I also have separate videos to help you listen to natives. And that is it in terms of what I wanted to share with you. So thank you for tuning in. We'll try to do this next week, probably around the same time, but you'll see the notification. So if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. You can hit the notification bell. And we're going to review lesson 2 next time. And lesson 2, the video will drop probably tomorrow. And we'll keep going. So I hope everyone has a good day. And again, I'll be checking back on the video in the comment section if you have any additional questions on idioms or whatever else you might want to ask me. Okay, everybody, take care and have a good evening or morning or afternoon, depending on where you're connecting from. Bye, everybody.